My name is Ahmed. I'm a Somali. I was born in northern Somalia, and it was in the northwestern region of Somalia in 1983. And I was born outside of the city, the second capital city of Somalia, which is called Hargeisa. And that region, that northern western region, has become an independent de facto nation, rest of Somalia. I've lived in the United Kingdom some 20 years now with my family.
Okay, could you tell me about the riots in Somalia? How did they start? When did they start? What was it?
Well, I mean, let's go back to how the civil war started. The civil war in Somalia, as any other country did, Somalia was a dictatorship regime in Somalia back in the 60s until the 70s. So the 80s, right, and then the civil war started because of the governments, they were oppressing the people. They were oppressing their own population. And within the government, there was distrust within the government administration. And the rioting started around about the first ever signs of a crack within the country. Started in the northern region of Somalia, northwestern region of Somalia, which is now called Somaliland. It's a republic from the rest of Somalia. Started in the early 80s, 81, 82. The rioting started off a couple of students. Those riotings, if I could just give you a sentence, is similar to what's happened in Egypt, to what's happened in Egypt and all these other. It's exactly the same thing happened in Somalia. The first democratic movement. People were sick and tired of this the dictatorship, the government in Mogadishu in the south. Most of the resources was being transferred over to the city in the south. The north was getting its share, but not enough. Unemployment, dysfunctional. So people were very upset. And then that, rather than the riots occurring across the country, only occurred in a small part of the region. And those people, then that rioting suddenly a couple of years later turned out to be a tribal warfare. Because the people in the north, they thought that the southerners in the south, and the government of the south was dominated by southerners. From what the records of the history tell us, not what people are telling me, not people's opinions, but what I've read in the history and in the books. And the government was dominated by southerners. So then the northerners, they thought, we've been oppressed by the southerners, These are our brothers, why are they doing this stuff? So then it turned out to be a movement, and then they became a rebel movement.
And this led to a tribal.
And then it led to a tribal conflict in the the actual war. It was touch and go. It was sort of a touch and go at the beginning.
How old were you when this started?
I wasn't born in 1981, obviously, but the war started officially in 86. 86. That's when the war officially, the drums started beating at the time. And that bunch of students, from a dozen students in the city, then suddenly that movement, hundreds, thousands, basically all the tribes in the north just came together and formed a political movement. That political movement turned to a rebel movement. And then the tribal war started, and then the government of the south started bombing the civilians. And obviously any other government, they will obviously bomb their own civilians in the case, because they're going to use that quote propaganda word that the rebels are in a civilian area, so we're trying to bomb the rebels, but then the civilians get been killed.